Welcome everyone. This is Orion Summit 2022. We've been planning for this. We've been planning for these topics, for this amazing combination of ideas to make them reality. And they are now. The most importantly, you are part of it. I am Emma Arakelian, Orion Worldwide Innovations founder, and also BAJ Accelerator co-founding partner. Next to me is my partner.
Hello everyone. Welcome to Orion Summit 2022. And I'm very excited that you are here, and I'm sure today we'll have great panel discussions, and so we'll have also entertainment, we'll have also networking.
Your name. Your name.
Sorry, I'm a little bit excited.
Diana Arzumanyan is the co-founding partner of Orion and CEO of Orion Armenia. So the mastermind of this entire summit was actually started with her idea last year, and the topics of digital Julfa were added later on, and the M&A, mergers and acquisitions, direction, consolidation of the entire ecosystem was the initial main objective. So welcome to this summit, and we also want to thank our sponsors. I would like to highlight our platinum sponsor is Ameria Bank. Thank you so much. Banking is important. Banking is the foundation, and having the platinum sponsor as the bank, the top bank of the country, is the part of the success we were planning. So Ameria Bank, thank you so much. And for sponsors, Diana, what would you say for other sponsors and partners?
Yeah, we have also coordinating partners. I want to say thank you, Minister of Economy and Ministry of High Tech. With coordinating, we are also UITA. With NewsIM, I want to mention also our sponsors, SADA and Adobe. They are the experts with M&A, ESOP. We want to also mention Virtulo. They are also working with us. And for our M&A, we are closely working with top consulting companies, with Aston Young and BDO Consulting. And Advice Consulting.
With this, our opening statement is being continued by welcoming our Minister of High-Tech Industry, Robert Khachaturian, to the stage.
Շնորհակալություն ներկայացնելու համար, իմ ելույթը հայերեն է լինելու, չգիտեմ թարգմանություն կլինի թե չէ, նախորդ ներողություն եմ խնդրում, եթե ինչ-որ մեկին անհարմարություն եմ պատճառում դրանով, նախ ուզում շնորհակալություն հայտնեմ հրավերի համար եւ կազմակերպիչներին նման միջոցառումը կազմակերպելու համար, եւ ուզում եմ ողջունեմ Orion միջազգային գագաթնաժողովի բոլոր մասնակիցներին։ Նմանատիպ միջոցառումների անցկացումը տեխնոլոգիական ընկերությունների, ինչպես նաև ոլորտի զարգացման եւ կայացման համար առանցքային նշանակություն ունեն։ Այսօր մեկ հարթակում հանդես կգան տեխնոլոգիական եւ բիզնես ոլորտների ճանաչված ներկայացուցիչներ, որպեսզի քննարկեն արդիական թեմաներ, կիսվեն իրենց փորձով եւ հաջողության պատմություններով։ Սա նաև լավ հնարավորություն է մեզ համար արձանագրելու ոլորտի զարգացումները եւ հաջողությունները։ Կարծում եմ պետք չէ խուսափել նաև խնդիրների մասին խոսելուց, ավելին դրանք վերհանելը եւ քննարկելը, լուծման խնդիրները մշակելը հնարավորություն են տալիս չկրկնել սխալները եւ հապես խուսափել սխալներ գործելուց։ Ստարտափ էկոհամակարգի զարգացումը մեր նախարարության օրակարգում է եւ մենք հետեւական աշխատանք ենք տանում ստարտափների կայացման եւ առաջընթացի համար։ Հաջողության իրենց ուղին հարթած եւ ձեռքբերումների հասած ընկերությունների փորձը լուրջ խթան եւ ազդակ կարող է հանդիսանալ առաջին քայլերը անող ստարտափների համար։ Հայաստանը տեխնոլոգիական մեծ ներուժ ունի եւ այդ ներուժը մասամբ այստեղ է հավաքված եւ համոզված եմ, որ այս գագաթնաժողովի արդյունքները երկար սպասել չեն տա։ Բոլորից մաղթում եմ նորանոր հաջողություններ եւ վստահ եմ, որ միջոցառումը կանցնի արդյունավետ եւ կնպաստի, որպեսզի միասին գտնենք առաջընթացի նոր ուղիներ։ Շնորհակալություն։
Thank you very much. It's important to have a support of the country technology leader because everything that we are trying to do is foundation is technology innovation. Why? Because it's digital era. For that reason, everything we did for this conference and for this summit, we tried to do everything digital. Even digital Julfa is the name of the new initiative that we are talking about. We also have digital program. Hopefully you took that in your computers, in your cell phones, mobiles. What I would like to do next is invite our keynote speaker, a distinguished Armenian, dedicated Armenian for many decades, working with Armenian leadership here locally and globally. I would like to call on the stage Mr. Mark Chenyan, an executive of many years in banking industry, but today he's representing a special organization, ASOF. It's a fellows organization that he established, and he's going to talk about it. Mark Chenyan to the stage.
Good morning. First, I would like to thank the organizers for this distinguished pleasure to be able here and communicate with you for certain ideas which are relevant to today's program. And then number two, as it was mentioned, I do not represent any financial institution that I may be associated with. And thirdly, I am on the board of directors of Armenian Society of Fellows. This society was formed recently, and actually on the 26th ago we started our first conference in Venice. And the reason that it was done in Venice, as we know, it's one of our Renaissance centers throughout our history. That's why we're doing our convention there. The society, right now, phase one, we have 162 academics and so forth. By the way, I'm one of the exceptions. I'm not an academic. They come from 16 different countries in 30 different disciplines. It's absolutely a think tank, a virtual think tank. We do not have the billions of dollars of creating and institutions like in Stanford and so forth. But that's the introduction. As for today, when I was asked to deliver this talk, I asked what are the key words that I should concentrate on. And the two key words are right there, innovation and entrepreneurship. These two words, as I was trying to formulate, they took me back to early 70s and mid 70s. The conventional wisdom of investments at the time, called pie chart, with a lot of slices of pie, and basically rearranging the pie, trying to get better results than the conventional result. But at that time, a new concept was developing also, which was thematic investment. In that thematic investments, I would like to concentrate on two of those today. One was biotechnology, and the other one was software versus hardware as the driving engine of technology growth. And obviously, we faced two major problems. I don't know if you can see the lower line. It says beyond the numbers. Okay? What does it mean, beyond the numbers? Oh. Which way? This one. Okay. So beyond the numbers, what does that mean? When you are looking at brand new concepts, at that time biotechnology and so forth, when presentations were made to investment bankers, numbers and so forth were given. But those numbers had absolutely no basis, history-wise or otherwise. And therefore, the industry was concentrating on, okay, is what else are we facing beyond the numbers, because the numbers are not reliable one. And therefore the concentration was, okay, what are the thoughts, the management techniques and so forth, their maturity and so forth. That's exactly what it means, beyond the numbers. And therefore, what I did in preparation for today is I consulted the literature out there. And there is a huge amount of literature which basically talks about how the startups or people or industries that do not have any kind of a background, they're breaking ground new, how those all the qualities and so forth beyond the numbers was concentrated. And therefore today's slides that I'm going to be presenting is basically coming from that literature. But beyond that, there is another concept of innovation that has something to do, a lot to do actually, with our highlands, the Armenian highlands. During the last 25 years, a lot of excavations were happening here in this country. And you all know that about 10 or 13 years ago and so forth, the 6100 number came up, RNE cave, and so on and so forth. Okay? But what is very, very interesting is this, that just a few weeks ago, actually I got the copy just before I left for my trip. Okay? And the title of the book that was published is A New Golden Age of Archaeology, Recent Discoveries in Armenia. It's not greatly published yet or advertised yet, but that's exactly what it is. And what is important is this, that when you try archaeologists, when they go back to explore when this, let's say, civilization and so forth did come into the picture in this area, there was also a lot of innovation. That innovation was the tools that our ancestors were using. And what is very, very interesting, and it's going to be announced very, very soon, unofficially I'll do it myself, is this, that, by the way, this cooperation of archaeology was done quite globally. A lot of Europe, United States, archaeology schools, funding, and so forth. But what is important is this, that we discovered, we meaning we Armenians, discovered tools used in the Armenian highlands 350,000 years ago. Until recently, the word literature in archaeology did talk about the oldest civilization came from East Africa, today's Ethiopia. Today, I'm unofficially announcing that all that literature will be revised, and now the Armenian highlands also will be on that map in terms of 350,000 years ago. That using tools is innovation. And now I'll go back into the literature. I would like you to read. These are the crowded screens. Okay, from time to time I will make certain comments, okay, over and above whatever you're going to see on the screen. Which way do I point? This way? Yeah. Okay. All these quotations are from the literature I just mentioned. Okay, and the additional comments I'll be making just to complete the paradigm. On this screen, what is important, again, remember that we're the investment bankers evaluating what is coming to us. What is important, that the first order of business is you, the individual, the entrepreneur, the innovator, and so forth. And that's a very, very important factor that we were taking into considerations half a century ago. To create a product or service that makes the world a better place. This is an important goal that we were trying to evaluate. The team that was in front of us was being able to deliver it or not, or they were prepared to do it. It is teamwork that remains the ultimate competitive advantage. It is so powerful. That's what we were looking at, beyond the numbers. This one comes from Elon Musk himself. What he was talking about in his book, primarily, is meaningful worldview. And if you look back what everything that he did during the last decade and a half, basically that's what it was. This next one is from Richard Branson. And what his message was, is that to create something that is original, will last with useful purpose. And if you look what everything that he did, basically he was consistent with this doctrine. Good. This is basically what it's saying, is this is the ability to focus and make the best move, scaling the organization. What basically it means is that the team that you're putting together, okay, collectively they have to be consistent with this message. That's basically what the conveying is. I guess we jumped here. I would like to go back. Anyway, for this one, this comes from Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba. It says the ability to focus and make the best move when there are no good moves, scaling a human organization. This is a very, very key element. Because a lot of times, especially in the stages of an industry or a company, you really don't know what are the best choices. But the important thing is to be able to eliminate a few, concentrate on one, move forward, and as you move forward, you discover what is wrong, what is right, and so forth, and basically you make the course corrections. That's exactly what the principle over there is. Okay. The true product of a business is the business itself. Great people have a vision of their lives that they are always practice. They go to work on their lives not just in their lives. It's a very powerful message of what really the Bill Gates, Steve Jobs, and so forth. If you look at their literature, this variation of this constantly comes up. That's it. It's a brand of imaginative thinking backed by enthusiasm, vitality, expectation, to which all people aspire. That team getting aligned to this kind of an preparation and so forth is extremely important in evaluating beyond the numbers again. And the other thing, at bottom line, okay, our civilization, okay, is as much, this message is extremely fundamental, okay, in trying to evaluate the management team, especially the technology guys. Business must purposefully engage in disruptive innovation if they're to survive in the marketplace. The next one, which is relevant to it, enterprise with extreme focus on quality, better systems, and constant improvement have the edge. And this is, again, very, very fundamental in evaluation. Okay. Yeah, I'm finished. Effectiveness at work depends on clarity of aim and desire to contribute. Next one. And this comes from Steve Jobs. A great vision can require shocking intensity and to realize the goal. Very innovation places oh. Okay, it's okay. This one was a very, has nothing to do with high tech. But basically the concept of standardizing the containers for transport revolutionized the whole world trade. It's a simple concept, beautifully executed, and the world trade was a major, major beneficiary. I don't think, okay, let me get it. It's okay. And his message is very obvious, as it's written over there. And then the last slide. See, so what is emphasizing is the magic of believing in whatever you're trying to create. And lastly, this comes from Warren Buffett, okay? The genius was largely a genius of character, of patience, discipline, and rationale. What basically I try to do is scan through the literature out there, which is a very good guideline in trying to evaluate businesses, startups, and so forth. They're venturing into new areas, no reference, I'm talking about numbers and so forth, but it concentrates on the people that are trying to get in there. I would like to conclude here, we're having problems here, I would like to conclude it by saying the following, that all this that we're talking about boils down to one thing, and that is getting science come down to business. And I hope that the rest of the day today will be addressing certain phases of getting the business, science get down to business. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and we'll revisit with you sometime later on. Thank you very much.
There was so much philosophy and daring ideas. I hope all the quotes that Mark made is something you're going to take away with you, which is the courage, the character, innovation, and what he finished. And I think this is one of the themes, that science and technology has to come down to business. Where is the wealth? Where is the money? And for that reason, I earlier said, coming, having, collaborating, partnering with banking industry is critical. And I don't know, Mark, you want me to say now, but I'm tempted to say now, not a secret. With Mark and many other bankers, global, influential, we're going to talk to our Central Bank of Armenia. We're going to talk to our top banks. This is coming, establishing investment banking in Armenia. I want applause for this now. Applause. We need financial presence, and this is also one of the themes of Digital Julfa. Finance, technology, art, culture, legal, government, all this together, trade, import, export. This is the old Jura, which became translated into Julfa. Nothing to do with Iran. It's Armenian root. It's Nakhichevan Armenian Jura that became Julfa and then New Julfa. 300 years of presence and power and leadership and innovation, when that time we didn't even have state. So kudos to New Julfans, because today we're going to start that new trend, evolution of New Julfa to Digital Julfa, moving New Julfa to 21st century. Applause to that. Now, we all represent different parts of economy, of the country, industries. We have finance, technology, education, film. We have film representation. We have professors, academia. We have finance, technology. All of these are together. You are representing the country. You are the leaders. You are the masterminds and the pioneers of many things that you are doing today. Among those, there is one person in this crowd that many of you don't know he's here. We heard recently, just a couple of months ago, we had Artem Pataputian as the Nobel Prize winner. Guess who is in the crowd? His elder brother, Ara Pataputian. Please stand up. Himself only, he has 120 patents, IPs. Kudos to you. You represent the Armenian nation from the science, technology, and innovation side. Thank you for that. Applause to Ara. Thank you for coming. So it's a powerful crowd. Now, all of this comes to the next panel. We called it pre-panel because we want to set the stage. So the person who's going to set that stage of innovation, how do we get technology down to business? How are we going to create wealth and then advocacy as a result of that? So Samson is here to do that. So the panel one was titled as Maturing and Accelerating Armenian Startup Ecosystem, Innovation, Finance, and Investment Perspectives. You will see technology is never alone in this agenda. It's always plus money, plus wealth. So Samson Avetian, Angel Investor Club of Armenia, co-founder and Crowd Ventures co-founder. Samson, take the stage. How do we get from science and technology to business? Come on the stage.
Okay, hi everyone. Thanks, Emma, for the introduction. Thanks a lot for the BAJ team. It's an excellent event, and I very much look forward to, like everybody else, being part of here. I'm going to talk a bit about venture finance in Armenia, one of the initiatives we have here that hopefully will kind of have a good gathering afterwards around us. So first question I would like to start with is basically discussing what the structure of Armenian venture finance is today. So to be brief, there are basically several type of layers that people participate in financing venture finance. The first layer is institutional participation, which is banks, foundations, pension funds, and so on. The second layer is angels, high net worth individuals via VC funds and networks, and this is what we have in Armenia today. A lot of very good venture funds and angel networks do very good amount of work there. And then there's the third layer as well, which is average household participation. This is what we unfortunately don't have yet in Armenia. So these are the three layers. We're very good at the second one, but the first and the third one is not there yet, and this is what we're going to touch upon. So as mentioned, this is great work done by all the organizations, including BAJ, including Hero House, Bana, and everyone I'm not mentioning, Co-op, Armenian Startup Foundation, and so on. This is excellent work. But again, to achieve new heights, this is not enough. If you look at Armenian exports of IT services, it's around 400 million annualized rates. We have countries of similar size that are running $50, $60 billion of exports. So there's a huge amount of kind of track to cover. We're going in that direction. It's not easy, but this is much more effort is required from us, and including our great founders. I mean, these are the drivers of everything that's happening. So if it wouldn't be them, we would not be here, none of us. So upon last count, this is one number I'd like to put up, is 0.06%. This is the amount of financial assets in Armenia that go into venture finance. Oh, that's fine. They hear me. 0.06%. So basically, if you take venture finance money going into the space, this is 0.06% of all of the Armenian assets. So bank deposits, pension funds, insurance company assets, and so on. So obviously, if you want to build, the question is this enough to build a future-oriented, innovative, and productive economy? So from our point of view, that's not the case. If you look at leading tech sectors, we have 20, 25 times that number. So we have a fair amount of road to cover. And coming soon, this is what we're working on, something called Crowd Ventures. Crowd Ventures is basically the third layer that I just described. So the first one was institutions, the second one was angels that we're doing right now, and the third one is the equity crowdfunding. And this wouldn't be possible, of course, by the regulatory work that has been done by the central bank. Much thankful for that. We're cooperating closely to making sure all the regulations that are in place, we're kind of aligned with that. So this is what we have in front of us. There's a fair amount of work being done, and we're kind of moving swiftly in that direction. It's a collaboration based. I'll talk more about how the collaboration is. It's a best practice oriented. We looked at like 30 different platforms to make sure to understand what's working, what's not working, what is the positioning strategy, and so on, to make sure that we are in the ecosystem helping out, not kind of overlapping with other initiatives. So this is what we're doing, and of course, This is for the Armenian ecosystem as a whole. This is not a project for AICA, this is not a project for our team, this is not a project for specific individuals, this is something we want to do for the whole ecosystem. And all of the structures that I'll talk about, I have a couple of minutes left it seems, and I'll talk about how that collaboration is institutionally practiced as well. This is very important to us. Let's take a look at, like, I hope you see kind of the lower part as well here, but basically we have a crowdfunding platform, we have startups listing their equities, and then we have me, you, investors from Armenia, investors from diaspora importantly, and maybe other type of investors as well, investing in our startups. So this would be $100 tickets, $50 tickets going into the space. So, and the collaboration part I just mentioned, there are two very important things here. The first one is on the equity side. So we want this entity to be co-owned, and we're working in this direction with local accelerators and incubators. So the equity would be owned partially by them as well. Stock exchanges, if you look at other countries, a lot of times were established by banks and investment companies co-owning the equity here. And why we want to do this is to make sure that we have the money that's being generating as profits in crowd ventures flowing back to the financing the talent funnel. So all of this great work that is being done by the accelerators like BAJ and others, we want those finances to be increasingly sustainable via the money that's being generated from everyone here. Another part that we're looking at is also on the educational part. So we're discussing with TUMO, with Armat, with COAF, of course, to make sure that we have some working ourselves with the talent funnel as well, making sure all of these bright kids that we have in Armenia have a good future if they, at some point in life, decide to move in the direction of entrepreneurship. So why is this important? Why are we looking at this? There are a couple of things that we think are very impactful here. The first one is, as mentioned, we're opening a new channel for financial investments into startups. Another thing that's very important is the engagement and participation. Now, a lot of people know here, by numbers, by their own networks, people working in the space know the progress and the successes this industry has, the tech side. But a lot of people don't. And a lot of people are not engaged in this sector in Armenia and diaspora. And this is a very good avenue for generating engagement by people that are not from the industry. So people are participating in the success story of Armenia. This is the best, most successful industry and sector in Armenia, and we want people to feel that themselves, so participate in this success story. Another thing here is R&D and science financing. Now, a lot of people talk about science these last couple of years, which is very important. There's a lot more money going into that space, but science is not only publicly financed. Science is also should be financed by the private side as well. And anytime you invest in a startup, 50, 60, 70% of the money that goes towards that startup is basically innovation, experimentation, and R&D. So this way, we're increasing the amount of money going from the private side into R&D and science financing. And the last couple of points here are a bit more also important, but a longer term kind of thing that we have in mind. Savings culture and portfolio management culture is something that's also we've come up when we discuss this. Why? So via this tool, people will understand that any $100 they save goes directly into an investment space. And that will be impacting their propensity to save, their propensity to invest, and their propensity to invest in a future-oriented direction. And the final thing, hopefully at some point it will come alive, but you know, we've been working for many years to developing capital markets in Armenia. Maybe this is one way that we can help out. There are certain platforms abroad that do this as well, so there's a secondary trading, and maybe we'll have kind of somewhat of a facilitating role in establishing that culture as well in Armenia, or those practices. This is my last slide, and I'll leave the floor to our distinguished panel. Very much looking forward to that myself. But basically, my last couple of points here, forward-looking and innovative economy does not happen by itself. We're all are part of this. We're all are on the same team. We're all are on the, should be pushing in this direction, doing this with AICA and others to make sure this happens. So thanks a lot for your time, and thank you to the organizers once again. Yes, one final thing. I'm here around all day. Send me an email. I would love to have your feedback and input. I'm not going to take it now because it will take too much time, but make sure you reach out to me, whatever you have in mind. Happy to talk about that. Thank you.
Okay, now the time has come for a panel discussion by very strong distinguished, well-prepared, impressive, at the same time caring leaders who are here to share their thoughts. How in the world we can make this change? Mindset change. It stops on the mindset. That's interesting. My microphone is not working. Mindset change. Still doesn't. So hopefully the microphones there will work. But when it doesn't, please make sure it does, because we want to hear what you have to say and how you want to make the change in this, for our country, for our wealth building, and for our advocacy. You're going to get used to saying wealth and advocacy together. We're going to build wealth plus advocacy. Two things that we don't have, but by all means we can build. With that, I'm going to invite Dr. Armen Kherlopian, BAJ Accelerator co-founding partner and professor at AUA. Armen, to the stage. He's going to moderate the discussion on maturing, accelerating Armenian startup ecosystem, innovation, finance, and investment perspective. On the stage, I'd like to invite David Sahakian, Deputy Minister of High-Tech Industry of Republic of Armenia. David, my good friend. Martin Galstyan, Governor of the Central Bank of Armenia. Martin, thank you. Arthur Mikhaelian, President and co-founder of AICA. Arthur, to the stage. Diana Arzumanyan, CEO and co-founding partner of Orion Armenia. And Artyom Shmatsyan, Chief Information and Digital Officer of Ameria Bank. Shamtsyan. There we go. Gurgen Hakopian, unfortunately, could not join because he has got sick. So, Armen, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Emma, and an absolute pleasure to be here with this tour de force panel. The last panel I had the pleasure of moderating was also with the Pataputian family in Hamalir. So with this, let's jump right in. Martin, I would like to invite you to kick us off. Specifically, the activity in the economy is quite striking. And I want to draw an immediate comparison. For example, Estonia's GDP in 2004 was around 12 billion, similar to our current state. Yet in just 4 years, they were able to nearly double it. What analogies can you draw? What can we do? Appreciate your perspective. Welcome.
Can you hear me? Yep. So, first of all, thank you very much for inviting. It's always a humbling experience to speak against entrepreneurs, people who really do things. But anyway, so I think the comparison from 2004 to 2008 is a little bit abrupt in a way, because that was the time when everybody else in the world were also growing. So you need to look at a longer perspective, and then if I paraphrase your question in a way, how did Estonia get where it is now? I'll say there are too many factors to mention, but several of those is great location and their proximity to markets like Finland and Sweden, where you have strong innovative capacity. Second would be them being part of European Union and having funds from structural funds and cohesion funds from EU, which helped them to rebuild their economy, but also the nature of Estonian people and their strive towards knowledge. During the Soviet times, Estonians were treated as people who are straight, and they were the ones who were not trying to get shortcuts to solve their problems in Moscow through Communist Party, and most of them were in math and science. So that, combined with their proximity to innovation centers like Sweden and Finland, probably helped them boost their economy. So what is the lesson that we can draw in general from all of this? It's that old good economic theory still works. So it's the collection of your inputs that you have under your control, which is capital and labor, and then the way you move things forward, which is in economic jargon called total factor productivity. So you need to have good quality people, you need to have good quality labor, capital, and then you need to have innovative capacity to move things around. So that is the universal key to success. Where is Armenia at the current stage? I think there are many things to do, as Samson mentioned. It's not the job of government or private or academia doing it separately, but it should be a co-joint efforts of all of the sides to move things to the destiny that we want all to see for Armenia.
Thank you very much, Martin, and certainly appreciate we need to chart our own course. You highlighted productivity, so as a follow-on question, Estonia's population, including its diaspora, is only 2.5 million. So is the productivity coming from technology and startups, Swiss-style light but high-value manufacturing? How should we be thinking about productivity?
So I think there is this trajectory which is the same for a person, a company, and a country, to my understanding. So there are people in the world who do things that nobody else does. So those are the people who are kind of untouchable. So they can decide to work in London, in LA, or in New York, or still live in Armenia. There are companies who are doing things that no other company in the world does. But there are also probably 95% of companies who do the same thing as many others. And there are countries, if you look at the economic complexity map of Hausmann and Hidalgo, you would see that there are around 150, 160 countries around the world that are almost doing the same thing. They are producing the same stuff as everybody else does. And there are very few countries that are producing almost everything, including the things that nobody else does. So to my understanding, productivity on human, business, and state side, it's your ability to come up with a unique value proposition. Where does that strive comes from? It's first and foremost, probably Mark mentioned science, and then Samson mentioned collaboration. To my understanding, it doesn't matter how small or big the economy is. In a 21st century, it's the function of collaboration and being able to absorb the knowledge, and at one stage to create knowledge. So Estonia was a very good example because meanwhile they are small in numbers, but they were able to absorb what Sweden and Finland were doing for decades in telecom business, in technology and IT. So if you look at your iPhone or Samsung, whatever you have device in your hand, it's a collaborative process, worldwide collaborative process. So innovation is not done in the cave alone, it's done in collaboration with many partners in crime, I would call. So I think productivity and innovation comes from collaboration.
Thank you very much, Martin. One more question in terms of a macroeconomic sense, and in particular related to our currency. I must say it is a point of pride to see how the dram has been doing. And indeed, it is quite rare for a country of our size to have such a strong central bank. Would love to hear what actions have been taken, what are you thinking, and what's been happening, particularly around the currency?
That's a very difficult question for this audience because probably some of the people here are suffering from the currency appreciation. And then most of the people are suffering. Then, yes, the problem is that we are in the midst of the crisis that has never happened to us, at least for the last 40, 50 years. So we know that there is a phenomena which is called inflation, and even the countries like United States are experiencing an inflation which probably happened to them last time, 1980s. So what is the mandate of the central bank? The central bank's mandate is to provide price stability and foreseeable price trajectory for the economy in general, and we use exchange rate as a tool. I don't want to take it as a compliment that our drum is strong. The point is that it's an exogenous factor which is happening to us due to foreign visitors that we're having in Armenia now, and it's because of the growth of export in Armenia. Many of you are in restaurants during the evenings, and you can see how many foreigners are in restaurants. All of that, according to statistical rules, should be recorded as export. So we can see an incredible increase in export to Armenia or from Armenia during this year, which naturally brings to appreciation of national currency. Now, the call from the public and from the audience, some part of the public, especially exporters, is to artificially depreciate Armenian dram. So central bank should intervene and depreciate Armenian dram, which probably should help Armenian exporters to be more productive, I would like to say, but it's not the productivity, competitive. Is it the story that I was telling you before? Is 5–10% dram appreciation the boost that Armenian exporters need to be productive? To my understanding, that's not the solution. The solution is to be unique. So if we want to be unique, there are multiple things that we can do together, but I wouldn't only count on artificially depreciated exchange rate as a tool for our innovation policy. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the thought leadership, Martin. I'd like to jump to our next panelist, Artem. You know, there is often a lot of talk in terms of startups and small enterprises, particularly with your post at Ameriabank. How do you think about not entrepreneurship per se, but intrapreneurship, this idea of driving innovation at a leading organization? Please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So at the Ameriabank, the more we digitalize our financial services, the more we see all the advantages that we have for developing both local entrepreneurship as well as external entrepreneurship, connecting to those services different partners. So inside the company, I clearly see the transformation in terms of how inside the company new propositions are made, how they are being validated on existing data, and how they are being pitched, actually pitched in the company setting and being financed. So I see that there is a drastic difference in terms of our previous financial planning process, which was more formed around classic traditional banking services, and now I see a much more agile financing for new opportunities. Because we clearly understand that we cannot plan all the opportunities for the next year. So we have to agile in terms of being capable to review them, fund them when they arrive. And that's a driving force for a formation of entrepreneurship today at the Ameriabank, which again influence our readiness to cooperate more with external startups, which would be unheard, let's say 5 or 10 years ago for such a conservative institution as bank.
Thank you very much, Artem. You mentioned engaging with startups as well as financial planning, so I have 2 follow-up questions in this regard. So in terms of the engaging with startups, do you have a pilot process? Is there a specific calendar of a review? Or how does the Ameriabank seek both to export innovation, in terms of going to market, and then also pulling it into the organization? Would love to hear a little bit more about your engagement model with startups.
Sure. Before jumping into engagement model, I would like to say that we were preparing to be ready to engage with startups. And the preparation was on the technological side, Because in order to onboard a startup and give them toolkit like sandbox to validate their hypothesis on your customer base, you have to be technologically ready. So that's why we call this year Digital Readiness Year for Ameriabank, because we are digitalizing and making them seamlessly available all our core financial digital services. So pretty much the whole bank will be available as a service. And that is our cornerstone for the preparation to work with the startups. Because when we approach startups, giving them a full toolkit, you want payments, you want transfers, you want onboarding, and you can validate your idea on our existing customer base and validate your hypothesis pretty cost efficiently, that's a value proposition from our side to the startups to cooperate.
Thank you very much, Artem. And in terms of a leading activity, to my knowledge, a CVC does not yet exist in Armenia, specifically corporate venture capital. We heard earlier from Samson touching on angels, institutions, crowdfunding. What are your thoughts on this activity? For example, a corporate entity beginning directly to invest in startups. As an example, Embodied, an Armenian health tech robotics company, has investors in it, Amazon Alexa Fund, as well as Toyota AI Ventures. Thoughts in general, thoughts in fintech in particular, Artyom, please.
I think I'll see this as a positive, very positive move. The company is pretty much transforming into a venture fund because, today companies, they have to find new ways of growth. And the new ways of growth, as was also mentioned by Mark in the presentation, is not coming with the existing customers. It's actually coming from new customers, and it's coming from new segments. And a traditional organization or any organization cannot focus simultaneously on all possible segments, on all possible opportunities. And that's why this transition into a venture fund that defines the directions which are important for that fund, start engaging more and more companies to invest and to see where the new segments can be validated and then added as a complementary business through acquisition or through joint venturing into the existing company business model. So I see a clear transition to that. I think the routine processes, let's say in institutions as banks, will be run all on a automated level, so robots will be covering all the routine operations, and the management of a bank, for example, transitions into the VC partnership where everyone leads their own portfolio and responsible for that portfolio. So that I see that kind of a transition.
Thank you so much, Artem. Great to hear there's positive motion. Switching from CVC, I would like to invite an angel on the panel, or I should say a leader of angels, Artur, to make an address here. And indeed, it's quite amusing. I myself, as a scientist and an angel, also a member of AICA, it's a bit comical. I am a scientist and an angel. So with this, Artur, can you help orient the group? What is an angel investor? What do they do? What do they do as groups, and why are they strategic? Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Armin, and thank you for the organizers of this event. Yes, you do have the best of the two worlds. You're an angel and you're a scientist, and we're happy for that. Really, being an angel is the role that an investor takes from the onset of the startup's life, and you're there to help the startup in terms of not only their funding, but also in terms of helping them grow. Mentoring them when the startup is asking for your advice. In many cases, it's a hands-off approach of running a business, relying on the startup and on the team, but also being with them and guiding them during the difficult times.
Thank you very much, Artur. And I recall very fondly during one of our investor gatherings, it was quite an epic toast addressing you as not only angel, but a leader of angels. After all, your last name is Mikaelian. So when we think of archangels, in art, there's this idea of not so much a very kind, passive guardian angel, but an angel that can fight. So can you elaborate a little bit more on the stage and the dangers that startups face, how angels support, and how also one could become an angel?
Absolutely. First of all, for the startups, really, especially the Armenian startups that come out of the existing ecosystem and our small country, small market environment, our angels, we always ask our angels to be very critical to the startups, to the founders, to look at them and challenge them in every way they can, because we want the startups to prepare to conquer, to enter the new markets, to enter the globe, because they will be competing on the global scale. So we ask the angels not to take the passive stand, but to be more challenging and to really treat the startups as real world-class businesses with all the difficulties that they will be facing once they enter the global markets. It is really at different parts of life, different people feel like they are ready to become an angel. We always tell our potential angels that it is a very risky business, and you need to be ready to lose all the money that you invest. So if you have capital that you will not regret that if you lose, then you're ready to become an angel. You're also ready to become an angel if you have built a good career or expertise in a certain field, in a certain industry. You will be able to help the startups, guide them into the new markets, open your networks, open your expertise, and help them in the difficult, uncharted driving into. So, to become an angel, really, if you're really ready to take the risk, the statistics usually shows that out of the 10 investments that you make, 6, 7 will probably fail, and you will not get your money out. 2 startups maybe will yield some kind of return or at least break even. And 1 startup will be a success that will cover for all the losses you have from the remaining investments. So our call for the angels is really to be active, to invest in small tickets, but to spread it into the different segments or the segment that you like, or at least to syndicate with the other angels and rely on the expertise of your fellow angels. So the community that we have built, we have members from all walks of life. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we have serial entrepreneurs, we have venture capitalists, we have biotech specialists, cybersecurity specialists, and we rely on each other's expertise evaluating companies.
Thank you very much, Artur. And indeed, it's fascinating, given as Martin kicked us off with this panel and our discussion on the economy overall, a 12 billion GDP and the rise of a startup unicorn going from 0 to 1 billion in company value highlights something that is quite critical, an advantage of being small in terms of what these tech companies can represent. Thank you very much, Artur. I want to transition now to Diana Arzumanyan. And Diana, a warm congratulations to the entire team on having this fantastic summit. And here we are in the middle of the kickoff panel. So Diana, a question for you is, so what are the top support activities that Orion does for the ecosystem?
Thank you, Arman. As you know, we organized Orion Summit to celebrate our 2nd anniversary. And from our foundation day, our mission was to mature and accelerate Armenian startups. And we are closely working with international global venture capitalists, VCs, angel investors, and also family offices and syndicates, yeah. And our vision to have Armenia like a startup-oriented country. And in our daily activities, to get our objective was to daily working with startups, get their that trampoline to the international global markets. And we are partnering with international and world-class accelerator, VAJ Accelerator, and during these 2 past years, more than 40 startups from Armenia applied to BHA Accelerator. And our activities include also, we are closely working with embassies, that there are more than 60 embassies in Armenia. We are working with them and we are presenting Armenian innovations to them. And recently, Orion expanded its activities to Southeast Asia, and now we are running some projects in Singapore and Malaysia.
Thank you so much, Diana. Indeed, it's a critical enabling activity. You mentioned that with BHA, there's 40 companies, a number of which are with us today, representing the future, part of the future economic base of Armenia. And there's 100 companies overall. I'm curious, could you share for the audience, and as was highlighted on the NASDAQ screen in Times Square, how much capital was mobilized for these startups?
For the last year, we already fundraising $27 million that I'm sure that will have impact to, in the long term, a little bit long term, to Armenian economy, because in that case we can double, maybe, or triple to GDP of Armenia.
Fantastic to hear. Indeed, given the context Artur and Samson shared, this is capital that is quite strategic at a high-risk time. And indeed, as a country, with a 5-to-1 ratio of our GDP to our eastern neighbor, this type of investment and growth is indeed strategic. Diana, you have quite a versatile team you've recruited. Would love to hear a bit more on the professional profiles. What type of experts do you have on your team? How is that supporting the startups and the ecosystem overall?
Yep. Thank you for our team. I'm very excited with my team because with these 2 years we have very professional from all of the board. In our team we have people from US, Canada, Brussels, and that our main, because we want to get a global connections and network experience, we are closely with working Birthright Armenia, that they are helping us to find talent and bring from all of the world. And we are also excited because next year we are going to do our summit in New York City, and with Emma's Arakelian's Networks, my co-founder, we are going to bring Armenian startup to US, and we want that in the same day they can meet US Fortune 500 companies CEOs, and maybe we can, in that way, can bring Armenian innovation, and they can see, and maybe they can also use our products, our future unicorns.
Fantastic. Warm congrats to the team, and indeed landmark work. So with this, would like to transition to David. So David, our first question will be on IT versus high tech. And I'm indeed immensely appreciative and glad the ministry is called high tech and not IT. Ուրեմն Բարոն Սահակյան, հետևյալ հարցումը, ինչպես կտեսնեք դարբերությունը IT եւ high tech, որովհետեւ գերեւի խոսակցության ադենը մարդիկ կշվարցնեն երկուքը։ Խնդրեմ։
Շնորհակալություն, նախ ուզում եմ շնորհակալություն հայտնել հրավերի համար, պակցությամբ Orion ընկերությանը, միևնույն ժամանակ, ինչպես հասկացաք, ես պետք է խոսեմ հայերեն, շնորհակալություն եմ հայտնում ըմբռնման համար։ Տեսեք, մեր նախարարությունը կոչվում է բարձր տեխնոլոգիական արդյունաբերության նախարարություն, ոչ թե IT նախարարություն, ոնց նշեցիք, եւ սա շատ հատկանշական է նրանով, որ մեր ամբողջ գործունեությունը ներկայումս նախարարությունը ուղղում է դեպի բարձր տեխնոլոգիական ոլորտ, ոչ միայն ՏՏ ոլորտ, տեղեկատվական տեխնոլոգիաների ոլորտ։ Դա ինչպես է արտահայտվում։ Գիտեք, որ գոյություն ունի ՏՏ ոլորտի աջակցման օրենք, հարկային արտոնությունների տրամադրման եւ ներկայումս այդ օրենքը ուժի մեջ է մինչեւ այս տարվա վերջ, ներկայումս մշակվում է նոր օրենք, որը արդեն ուղղված է լինելու բարձր տեխնոլոգիական ոլորտի ընկերությունների աջակցմանը։ Եվ արդեն այս ուղղությամբ մի քայլ նախարարություն։ Գիտեք, որ կա կառավարության որոշում նորից ընկերությունների աջակցման, սակայն այստեղ սահմանափակում դրված չի եղել։ ՏՏ ընկերությունների հետ միաժամանակ նշված են բարձր տեխնոլոգիական ոլորտի ընկերությունները, որոնք կարող են օգտվել նաև այդ աշխատավարձի 50%-ի քեշբեքի հնարավորությունից։ Եվ նախարարության եւս մի ծրագիր, որ մենք իրականացնում ենք, որ էլ ցույց է տալիս, որ մենք ՏՏ-ից անցնում ենք ԲՏ, կարելի է այսպես ասել, դա մեր տրեյնինգային ծրագրերն են։ Եթե հետևել եք մեր նախարարության գործունեությանը, նախկին 2 տարիների ընթացքում նախարարությունը իրականացրել է մոտ 18 ուղղությամբ ծրագրավորման դասընթացներ, իսկ այս տարի մենք ընտրել ենք որոշ թիրախային ուղղություններ, մասնավորապես կիբեռանվտանգություն, ինժեներություն, բլոկչեյն եւ արհեստական բանականություն, եւ այս ուղղությամբ ենք մենք իրականացնում դասընթացներ։ Այստեղ պետք է նշել նաեւ հավելեմ, որ այս տարի առաջին անգամ մենք ավելացրել ենք նաեւ տեխնոլոգիական ձեռներեցություն ուղղությամբ դասընթացները, ինչի, որովհետեւ կյանքը ցույց է տալիս եւ ես թվում է մենք կհամաձայնվենք, որ չնայած այն բանի, որ մենք ունենք հրաշալի ուղեղներ, հրաշալի ստարտափերներ, որոնք տեխնոլոգիական ոլորտում տալիս են շատ լավ լուծումներ, սակայն մենք ունենք մի փոքր եւ միգուցե ոչ փոքր բաց ձեռներեցության մասով, այդ գաղափարների բիզնես, այսպես ասած, փաթեթավորման մասով, եւ այստեղ մենք կարեւոր համարեցինք նաեւ այս ունակությունների եւ գիտելիքների տրամադրումը մեր ոլորտային ընկերություններին, որպեսզի իրենց աշխատանքը եւ արտադրանքը շատ ավելի արդյունավետ լինի։
Շատ շնորհակալություն եւ մանավանդ այս շեշտը high-tech-ի ոչ ընդհանուր IT-ին։ ID վերաբերյալ ինչպես կտեսնեք դարբեր ոլորտները, այսինքն կա ոլորտներ, որ տեխնոլոգի չի կործածենք, եթե գաբենք մեր առաջվա productivity-ին հարցումը, ինչպես կտեսնեք դարբեր ոլորտները։
Տեսեք, ստեղ մենք շատ ակտիվ համագործակցում ենք եւ պետական կառույցների հետ, նախարարությունների, մեր գոլեգաների հետ եւ բիզնեսի հետ։ Խնդիրը ինչու՞մն է կայանում, որ այդ կարիքների բացահայտումը եւ այդ կարիքներին համապատասխան լուծումների տրամադրումը լինի սինխրոնի հարթակի վրա եւ այդ հարթակի ֆունկցիան այս բարեդրությամբ նախարարությունը վերցնում է իր վրա այն առումով, որ մենք ինտենսիվ աշխատում ենք նորից եմ կրկնում մեր գոլեգաների հետ, նախարարությունների հետ հասկանալու ինչ խնդիրներ կան տարբեր նախարարություններում, սկսած թվայնացումից վերջացրած տարբեր լուծումների կիրառումը այդ ոլորտներում տվյալ ոլորտի արդյունավետությունը բարձրացնելու համար եւ այդտեղ մենք առաջարկում ենք մեր ինդուստրիայում առկա լուծումները։ Այստեղ շատ կարեւոր է, որ այդ շղթան մի քիչ ուրիշ կողմից ենք մենք տանում, ինչ առումով, որ մենք վերցնում ենք մեր հայկական ստարտափները, որոնք գլոբալ ընկերություններ են եւ իրեն գլոբալ կարելի ասել կարիքներ են բավարարում, միջազգային մակարդակի ծառայություններ են մատուցում եւ այդ ընկերություններին ենք բերում Հայաստան, որպեսզի իրենք ներդնեն իրենց լուծումը, ինչի, որպեսզի Հայաստանը եւ մեր ազգաբնակչությունը օգտվի այդ միջազգային ստանդարտներին համապատասխան ծառայություններից եւ ոչ միայն մենք ոչ թե մենք վերցնենք մեր կարիքներ ու այդ կարիքներին համապատասխան լուծում տանք, որովհետեւ դա կլինի շատ լոկալ Հայաստանի համար միայն եւ այստեղ դուք գիտեք հենց վերջերս նման մի հատ պայմանագիր կնքվեց, որ կարելի ասել գլոբալ ծառայություն ներդրվեց հայկական շուկայում եւ դրա համար մենք շատ ուրախ ենք, բավականաչափ աշխատանք տարանք այդ ուղղությամբ եւ սա ընդ որում բոլոր տեսակի լուծումներին է վերաբերում են բոլոր բառակապակցությունները, որտեղ կա tech, այդտեղ մենք մեր ամբիցիաները եւ այսպես ասած պահանջները հայտնում ենք agrotech, clean tech եւ այլն եւ համապատասխան գերատեսչություն ենք այդ ուղղությամբ։
Շատ շնորհակալություն, David. I would like to be mindful of time here. If there is a very pressing and poignant question from the audience, we'll take one. And Martin, I would like to invite you, if you have some synthesis and thoughts, and at the very least, the audience would be curious to hear more about the Diligence Center and activities. So I will acknowledge you if you raise your hand. In the interim, Martin, please, you have the floor.
First of all, it's very difficult to behave on the stage when you are among angels. It's very difficult. But when you look to my left and when you look to my right, you see the central bank. So that is somehow, so we live what we preach. Now David is a former colleague from the central bank. Diana is a former colleague from the central bank. So we are collaborative. And when I say collaboration, we also give our best to other industries as well.
Well put. All right, with that, we will go ahead and conclude our panel. Please join me in thanking our panelists today. We will be now going to see our next session. Would I like to hand it back over to Emma, please.